So I was talking to a friend, we were talking about food, and he said he was eating a meat stick, and I was like, cool, like send me a photo, what's in this thing? I'm always super interested in American food. So he sends me this photo, and I have a look at the ingredients, and I'm like, no way, there's no way you eat those things. He was like, yeah, I don't eat them all the time because there's quite a bit of salt in it, but I eat them on occasion, they're not too bad, and I was like, Jesus man, those things are so toxic, you gotta stay away from that. That stuff's like literally poison, but oh well, they sell these things and he gets them on occasion. So what makes these things so bad? So let's have a look at the ingredients. I mean, I wouldn't even call this human food. So these meat sticks, they sell them at supermarkets, gas stations, wherever. They're like $1. They're sitting on a counter. There's a whole jar of them. Grab them for $1. Why not? Food on the go. So we have a look at the ingredients, and what this meat stick mostly is chicken, pork, and soy. That's right. You got three of the worst types of meat in there. So what makes chicken and pork so bad for you is mainly because of the animal's digestion system and what they actually eat. Now, particularly in the US, chicken and pigs are fed a lot of soy, they're fed a lot of grains, and they're fed a lot of unnatural foods that the animals are not used to eating. And they, of course, eat these foods. It makes them sick and unhealthy. And then, of course, their meat is also sick and unhealthy. So when you eat that meat, you take in all of that inflammation, all of the toxins, all of that crap, and that also makes you sick and unhealthy because you're eating sick and unhealthy meat. And chicken and pork are the worst. Chickens and pigs have very simple digestion systems, and they can't break down a lot of the toxic crap that they're fed. So that's why you can eat chicken, you can eat pork, but try to limit your intake. Don't make majority of your diet centered around chicken and pork because there's a lot of unhealthy things in that food. Now, of course, if you get chicken and pork that is premium, organic, all that sort of stuff, then of course it is good for you. But if you're just eating standard chicken and pork that's available everywhere, that's super cheap, it's not good for you. Then we've got soy protein concentrate. Now, soy is particularly bad. I'm not going to get into all the stuff around it, mimics female hormones and all that sort of thing. It may do that, it may not. Now, the big reason to avoid soy in just about any type of food is that 99% of the soy, particularly in the US, is all GMO. Now, the big problem with GMOs is that they're very hard for the human body to break down. The human body is not used to eating these genetically modified foods, and they're difficult to break down, and they cause problems in your body. So it's best to avoid them. So if you're eating the low quality, highly inflamed, highly toxic meats like chicken and pork, and then you throw the soy into it as well, you're getting a whole heap of these toxic foods that make a lot of problems in your body, are super hard to digest, and of course lead to poor health. So try to limit your intakes of chicken and pork and just generally avoid soy altogether. Then you've got salt. Now, salt isn't bad for you. A lot of recent new information have come out and they've said that salt isn't bad for you. So have up to a tablespoon of salt per day. You can't have too much salt. If you have too much, your body just secretes it out. There are no ill effects from having too much salt. So up to a tablespoon is fine. Salt is good for you. Natural flavors, could be herbs, no idea. Then we've got less than 2% of the ingredients is corn syrup. So this is high fructose corn syrup. This is sugar. Why are you putting sugar on meats? It's an American thing. Anyway, it's just 2%, but it's best to avoid the corn syrup. Have regular sugar. The big problem with the corn syrup is, once again, highly processed, highly modified, highly difficult for the body to break down, causes a lot of inflammation. Then we've got beef. Now, beef is the sort of meat that you should be eating. Beef and lamb are what you should be eating most of your diet. That's what most of your protein intake, that's what most of your meat intake should be. The main reason is that cows and sheep have very advanced digestion systems, and even if they're fed substandard food, they're fed a lot of soy, grains, whatever, they're not fed the ideal food, their digestion systems break down all of that toxic crap and actually convert it into less toxic food that you can eat. So you can get away with just eating lamb and beef and not having too many issues. And of course, they're affordable, so you can get the cheap beef, the cheap lamb, and you're avoiding most of the toxic crap, most of the crap that's hard to digest, and most of the stuff that's make you sick and unhealthy. So try to eat as much beef and lamb as you can. Then you got paprika, just another herb. Then you got another type of salt. I think that's some sort of preservative there, can't even pronounce it. Then you've got red 40. Now this is a very interesting additive for food. So this is a color, this gives it a nice red color. particular, and this is somewhat toxic, and it's best to avoid anything that's got artificial colors, artificial flavors. You don't need them. They taste a bit weird, and Red 40 in particular has been linked to various interactions with people. It can be irritating if you've got the ADHD, those sorts of mental things. Avoid these artificial colors because they can have an impact on you. And the rest of the stuff in this meat stick isn't too bad. Sodium nitrate, nitrates are fine. You've got vinegar, vinegar's fine, water's fine, salt's fine, and then you've got more Red 40 in there. But there you go, your typical American meat stick. This thing is especially toxic, especially poisonous. They don't even sell these things here in Australia, and Australia, it's a barely functioning country as it is. But this sort of food here, this is the sort of stuff you need to avoid, and you just basically need to eat healthy human food. Being healthy is more about avoiding the toxic crap rather than doing some sort of wacky, crazy, new agey, sophisticated diet. It's just being healthy, being slim, being trim, being happy, having great mood, all those sort of things. It's about avoiding the toxic stuff. You don't need to go super crazy, but just avoiding the toxic food will have such a huge impact on your health. Now for me, for example, I've got just a photo here of roughly what I eat every day. It's not the full big meals, but it's a glimpse of what I eat. So start the morning, black coffee. We even got a bulletproof coffee today. And then we've got about half a pound of broccoli, half a pound of sweet potato. That's probably what I'm going to have for lunch. And then we've got a pound of meat sitting there. So there's about half a pound of steak and about half a pound of ground meat. And then we've got about a quarter pound of a carrot. Carrot's about a quarter pound there. So I'm going to have all those vegetables for lunch and about half of that meat as well for lunch. And that's a good, healthy meal. It's human food, it's natural, and it's not expensive. That's the thing. Eating natural is not expensive. You just got to do a little bit of work, but it's not too expensive. So you've got broccoli there. Broccoli costs about $2 a pound, not expensive. Sweet potato, $2 a pound, not expensive. Carrots, $2 a pound, not expensive. Now I buy the cheap steaks, and that's about $7 a pound. Once again, it's not expensive. It's a cheaper cut of meat, but it is beef. It is healthy, completely natural. And then you've got ground beef sitting there. I go for the 80-20 beef. It is really good, and that's about $5 per pound. Once again, not super expensive. It's super healthy, and it allows you to avoid all that toxic crap. And if you eat just meals like this, natural, healthy food, and avoid all of that processed stuff, you'll be so much healthier. And speaking of processed food, recent studies, recent evidence, all those nutritionalist diet people, they've come out, and the biggest reason why people are so fat, so unhealthy, mental health issues, all that sort of thing, is because of the processed food. So if you avoid the processed food, particularly things like this meat stick, the seed oils are one of the big things that is causing a lot of problems. That's the canola oil, the sunflower oil, the soybean oil, all those sorts of oils. Avoid all those, have butter, you'll be so much healthier. But just eat natural foods, vegetables, meat, avoid the grains, avoid the wheat. Gluten's not too good. Gluten backs you up. Avoid the gluten. If you're gonna have carbohydrates, you should be having carbs. I have to eat carbs. Go for the white rice or the sweet potatoes, or if you can stomach it, white potatoes even. But just eat natural, healthy human foods. Avoid the Mountain Dew. Stay away from the Hot Pockets. Stay away from this processed crap. Avoid the meat sticks. Eat human food, and you'll be so much healthier. Overall, getting thin, getting healthy, getting happy is not difficult, and it is not expensive. Just buy human food and you'll be absolutely fine. Now, on the other hand, if you want to get ripped, you want to get shredded, you want to get jacked, you want the six-pack, you want the muscles, you want the pythons, that is incredibly expensive, as it takes a lot of time and a lot of dedication, and most people who work, who study, who have somewhat of a schedule, can't actually find the time to change their entire lifestyle so they can have this six-pack lifestyle. So that's not too achievable for most people because it's just very, very expensive. However, being healthy, being thin, being happy is not expensive at all. Eat the human food. And thank you for watching.